Okay.
Are we on the air?
So make sure you're
Testing,
Yeah,
on the
I got
air.
it.
It's been almost a year now because it was, I think it was August 3rd of last year that we did our second jockeying event. And the first event had been in April, and all of us were there, including Terry, and was out there, and Mary and everybody, and we did one side of the street, and we got a lot of positive comments on it. Generally upbeat things, and support your community and all that. And in August, we decided we'd do the other side of the street with similarly positive statements. And unfortunately, there was a merchant who thought that having things written out in front of her store might dissuade people from coming in and buying things. How that would happen, I don't know, but so she called the city manager, and then he called the truck to wash it, and then he called the police department and told them to arrest us, which they did not want to do. And so there was sort of a lag time of 2 weeks while the police sort of hemmed and hawed, and then finally issued a ticket to Jack, and Jack can pick it up from there.
Yeah, he met me in the post office and was telling me that he was giving me a citation and how John Ward wanted to arrest us, but he persuaded him not to do that. I guess that was his story anyways.
Did they take you to jail, or did they just
No,
give you a ticket?
he just handed me the citation, and then I called Diane, and they said, oh, you got caught, we're going to come down and surrender.
So actually,
Said,
yeah,
That's how it.
Gotta give us a ticket too.
You're falling asleep.
I can hear everybody. I'm just.
Okay.
But everything we wrote was decent and respectable and 99% upbeat.
What did you write? Do you remember?
Peace out, save the community, shop local.
Wonder Your Neighbor, Tom wrote lyrics from songs, from some 60s songs, and
Signs.
and a sign song, and the one about the halls in the high school or whatever.
Rush subdivisions.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
and
A couple of allusions to marijuana legalization. About it, really. Even some,
community gardens. It was,
Yeah.
that was almost, we covered a lot of space.
corner to corner.
Yeah, so I think it was like about 50 statements that were there. So, and after a while, we kind of ran out of things to write by the time we got to the end. I guess this comes in the context, though, of a long-standing, had been at this point a long-standing discussion with the city about signs. And we had been trying to get, there had been a lot of people were posting things on an empty storefront, and we didn't start it, other people did, and it was a very sheltered and visible spot, and it made a great bulletin board. So we went down one day, we put up a big sign that said the People's Bulletin Board, and everyone liked it. I mean, people liked it, and one day I went down to post something on the People's Bulletin Board, and the Renaissance Corporation person was there and said, oh, you don't need to do that, all this is coming down. And she tore everything down, all the notices for church picnics and, summer camps.
Right there in front of you?
Well, practically, yeah. I went back to get my camera because I wanted to take a picture, and when I got back, everything was down, and she plastered it with Taste of Newport?
Taste of Newport.
$60 a plate, J Peak.
Coming soon.
This dinner coming soon, which basically the event was one, for people out of town came, they walked around the waterfront and had wine and cheese and went to restaurants and plastered the whole thing with that, at which point I got kind of mad.
Can you tell us what the Newport Renaissance is and how that relates to the poor people in the town?
It's called the Renaissance Corporation, and for some odd reason, okay, now I'm really getting into my prejudices here. This is my prejudice on this, but every other organization in this town, the library and the other places that want money, Old Stonehouse Museum, and all these good public things, have to go to the voters and get money by putting it on the ballot and having it voted on, their little $3,000 or whatever. Well, for some odd reason, this thing called the Renaissance Corporation, the city council handed over to them the sort of future development of Newport, so I guess they wouldn't have to do it. No, and we give them, I'm not sure how many thousands of dollars it is a year, and there is a permanent paid director. The other positions of the board members are a volunteer, I think, but she is a full-time paid position. And the city pays for that out of the city budget. And we never vote on it. We never had a chance to vote on it. So
Has that been, is any legal person figured a way to challenge that?
Nobody has looked at that. I don't know why they're allowed to. I guess, you know, we have a city council whose basic philosophy is we can do whatever we want. So that was probably their philosophy on it. But anyway, so this is a group of business people on the board who have businesses here, but actually some of them, I think 2 out of 3 don't even live in Newport, including the woman that heads the Renaissance Corporation, who lives in Lowell. And the other ones live like on the outskirts in the suburbs. There's nobody that represents people, you know, that lives down here that actually represents Newport, you know, people that have businesses here. So it's basically a business promotion group. So basically the city of Newport is paying these people to sort of do advertising and cheerleading for.
Is this associated with the Chamber of Commerce somehow, or no?
No, they're separate from the Chamber of Commerce. They're a corporation, and they've gotten very close with J Peak because J Peak has now bought or going to be buying the entire block there, and tearing the whole thing down right to the ground and building up 3-4 story. I don't know. I think they've made it a little bit shorter, so I think it's 4 stories.
Yeah, there's going to be 4 now.
There's going to be 5 stories. But
Does J Peak and this business association, do they have anything to do with the repressive type actions that happen in the city, the stomping on of people's constitutional rights, or is that just a problem with the city?
The interest there is that the business which they would like to see Newport be engaged in is tourism. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some of our residents are low income and are not exactly quaint or, you know, particularly people that, you know, when people come, they want to look at, maybe they want to see people in plaid shirts and hats. I don't know what they want to see.
Plaid shirts.
Plaid shirts, yeah, let's go down there. But
and boots.
Maybe we'll get paid.
Yeah, right. They need actors because a lot of the people that live here were just people. And there's a lot of low-income people. There's a lot of teenagers that don't have anything to do because they're not employed. And
well, it is a prison town, pretty much. I hate to say it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are...
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey.
Welcome to our
Hi.
meeting.
We're doing a little interview about the chalking, so if you don't want to be on camera, be aware.
I'm just talking. I need to shut up.
So what is your take on the
So the relationship is, well, Ann, you can stay.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking for Ruby and Andy because
Oh, we
I was
met them
going to drive.
downtown. I don't know, they were wandering around downtown.
Okay, how long ago?
Oh, more than an hour.
All right.
Okay.
They have no lift home to our house, so I was going to look to see.
Oh.
Yeah. See you later.
But so the connection is that, you know, once they build these nice buildings, one thing they've already done was years ago. We used to have benches on Main Street, and
That was about 4 years.
it was more than that, I think. But elderly people used to go out and sit there. They'd walk to the grocery store on the way back. They'd sit down on the bench to rest.
And street people too.
It's just people. Well, there were street people. There were people who lived down there. I mean,
Yeah.
they had apartments.
They lived there.
It was their home, and they'd come out of their home and sit in what basically was their front yard,
Right.
on these benches, and well, the merchants didn't like that because it didn't look good, and they thought it drove away business, so they took away all the benches.
So what do
Made
you?
you very mad.
Yeah, that's terrible. What is your feeling about? There's been 2 rulings recently about Fourth Amendment. I believe it was Fourth Amendment issues. Some person was tased in their own house. Some person was tackled.
Right.
Can you speak to this? And Do you know anything of the history of the police department here? Why is this happening?
This is the second time that the chief of police, Mr. DeSanto, he had just gotten through a case recently where they made a deal and they paid the woman $28,000 so that nothing could be spoken about it. Hush money, I called it.
Yeah.
John Wall called it extortion. So I think we had a little different
On the
opinion.
woman's part.
And yeah, and so she was attacked in her own home too
By whom?
by Mr. DeSanto when he was a patrolman.
Okay.
This was a number of years ago.
Yeah, the second case.
And so now his name's been removed from that case and there's no mention of him
Yes.
for the deal. And this one, Mr. DeSanto was involved in this and Mr. LaFay tackled the man in his own home again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, does it? Are these the same officers who were involved with hassling Roger Pion over the years?
Oh, well, I don't know.
I don't know that.
I wouldn't know that.
Okay.
But
Those are the
basically, the
sheriff.
tension is between the people that live here and the people that they want to have come here and spend money. So I think there is a big push to just try to get people off the streets and put them somewhere and get them, get rid of them.
I mean-
Just want to get rid of them.
The southern Vermont towns like Bennington look like they're so polished. They're just but it doesn't look like there's anyone
Place
except
like
wealthy
Woodstock,
people that
Vermont.
live there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, the vision they have of Newport is something very much like that. And there's no place there for low-income people or people that live here. There just isn't. And I don't know where they, want to put them or what they're going to do with them. But
Well,
They
they have
would
they have
like
a
to-
place to keep them right up towards the border. It's called the correctional.
correctional facility, right?
Of course, there's always Soylent Green.
Yeah. Oh, there's all kinds of options. So but so I guess that's the tension that's going on. It's between business people who see big bucks in tourist money from making this place
The
look
EB5
like
program.
something it isn't.
Different program.
Can you explain what this EB5 program is?
Basically, it's if you're a foreigner and you donate $500,000 or more, you get an instant green card for you and your family
Okay.
to come and stay in the United States, anywhere in the United States. So for $500,000, you get to live in America immediately.
Is this a,
Not $500,000. There are certain economically disadvantaged areas, which Newport is one,
Yeah.
where you can get your card for
So we're in that
Everywhere
zone.
else, it's $1 million. So
Oh.
that's why they want to come to Newport and do all this stuff. It's just because it's cheap. I mean, it's a bargain. So,
I mean, Laura and I come from, we were living the last almost 10 years in the DC area, and labor costs are much, much lower here. I mean, the cost, for example,
yes.
to get our cat's teeth cleaned in Virginia was well over $300 for one cat. We got both of our cats' teeth cleaned and dental work. One cat had to lose 2 teeth, and it was less than $300 for the whole bill for 2 cats.
yeah, and I think the cost of living is cheaper here.
Well, I think, originally you said, is it helping the lower income people? And they really don't seem to be putting any effort other than the usual social services, which is just grants. And most of the social services often work just to fill their grants.
Yeah.
We've got to spend this money or we'll lose it, we won't get in this. And I work for the NECA department, and their charter says they're supposed to have a low-income association. And they haven't met that criteria for the past 12 years.
Has anyone made that?
I have.
Okay, have you made
I
that?
was on the board for 3.5 years, and nothing ever...
Are you not on the board anymore?
No, I couldn't take it anymore.
Has anyone thought of bringing it to the Attorney General that they're not fulfilling their...
I called the Secretary of State, and I said, what do you do if someone's not fulfilling their charter? And she didn't give any substantial answer or didn't want to deal with it. She didn't know. So, but I think the old so-called poor farmer places houses in the country where there's land and you can have food growing and some animals to eat would give people without any start in the world, without any foot up, a place to start.
Yeah, yeah.
There'd be a lot of people suited to cleaning out a barn and milking a cow,
Might have to learn a lot of skills, but
which is even better.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, not everybody will fit, but I'm sure many will.
Well, I don't know, I'd like to see people be able to live wherever they want. I mean, if they wanna live in downtown Newport, because especially if they don't have a car and it's convenient,
Well,
and
it'd
they
be
can
nice
walk to stuff.
if you have the options to live wherever you want, that's
Right,
the
I
thing.
think you need to have that option, I think, and,
I mean, in Washington D.C., in where we came from, we lived in what was called affordable housing. An affordable housing apartment was $16.50 or $17.50 a month, and if you go down to K Street, where the Washington lobbyists are, the Occupy DC was located right on K Street at McPherson Square. You have these towering glass buildings, and in the streets there's homeless people who are horribly brutalized and beaten by the police just for existing, and they have to stay out of the parks at night. But there's this poverty on the streets right in the middle of this immense wealth. It's becoming more like a third world country.
well, I think that's what's gonna happen here is, I don't know, they, losing my voice here, I've been up for a long time, so, talking for a long time, probably talking too much. But anyway, I think a lot of, the jobs down here are just gonna be low-wage service jobs, and this is happening all over the country. We're ending up with, what they call the service economy, but I think we can call it the servant economy, because basically we're gonna have rich people with a lot of poor people waiting on them.
And we have one more lower tier. It's slave labor in the prisons.
Right, in prisons and also migrant
And
workers.
I normally am not very sympathetic towards people who participate in a system as brutal as the prisons, but the guards it's an absolutely horrendous life to live. Many of these prison guards have spent more time in prison than the people there. And to some extent, I feel that a guard becomes if you believe in a soul, their souls become more corrupted than even the prisoners, because they have this power that corrupts all.
Yeah, and they get hardened.
Yeah.
They
Although
get
they
very
have-
hardened, I think, and it happens to different professions. And I think they only start off at $12.50 an hour or something.
They have a union. That's the one good thing about the prison, is it's one of the few places around here that has a union. Tivoli has a union, and the prison has a union, and,
The police have a union.
police have a
Oh,
union.
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was someplace else that does too. Can't remember it right now.
But that prison labor, it is a slavery system. The amount, there's thousands of jobs that they have. Everything from fish culture to making calls for insurance, radio making, TVs, motorcycles, desks. I mean, the list is like thousands of occupations that they do in the prison.
And it's even cheaper than Chinese labor.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, I feel if people want to have people imprisoned, they should not be able to hand off. I don't feel that people should be in prison for victimless crimes or anything like that. But if society feels it has to, the people in society feel they have to keep people in jail, I almost feel that they should have to work in the prisons. They should have to do this, because it's just like sending a soldier off to kill somebody. It's out of sight, out of mind. They don't understand the brutality of the system that they're promoting. Perhaps, maybe not, but if people actually had to be inside the prisons and see what it was about, they might think twice about doing that. And I feel if society, it should not be a wage system. If you want somebody in the jail, you should do it yourself. And people would be a lot more cautious about building jails and prisons. I do admit there are people that really, for our safety, have to be kept away. I mean, like like cops that shoot people or regular people who shoot people or rape or whatever. These people need to be kept away. But,
Be rehabilitated if possible.
yes, or if they're dangerous, they need to be kept away. But it's putting people in jail for selling marijuana or for
Victimless crime.
or for transferring $2,000 without leaving a paper trail. This is ridiculous. And you can actually spend more time in jail you have to structure your, if you say, for example, take out $2,000 out of a bank in 3 installments because you don't want it reported, you will probably spend more time in jail for that than if you beat someone up.
Right, or if you write with chalk on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the incident where that person was charged for like 13 years
13 years
for talking?
Talking in front of the Bank of America. Well, it's all the banks and the rich people own the police, and they get to tell the police what they want done. And fortunately, we have a higher jury system, a higher legal system that hopefully corrects that. Which I'd like to thank the local judge, Ben Choose. I think he's a constitutional person. I think he knows his constitution, and he must have a hard job listening to some of these cases that he gets on appeal. Yeah,
Do you think that the local authorities have any respect for the Constitution?
Well, that's a... Well, they think so.
You know, they have very partitioned brains, I think, in which they see themselves as like our city council as a little. They're kind of like their job is to rule Newport. But they don't think much beyond that. That is to keep. They want to keep things orderly, and the streets shouldn't have potholes, and the signs should all be to regulation, and everyone should be orderly, and everything should proceed in a manner in which no one upsets the vote. They see their job as maintaining that kind of.
Why isn't there a town meeting like a lot of towns around here have?
I guess. There used to be a town meeting. I guess not enough people were coming, so they figured they would get more people to vote by having an Australian ballot, which is true. But they sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater. They didn't have to throw out the town meeting along with the voting at town meeting. They could have kept the town meeting and then still had the Australian ballot, which we suggested that maybe they should go back to doing. There's been a very long history of when citizens have been interested in doing something in Newport. The city council's pretty much just squashed them, and after 40 or 50 years of this, people have the fatalistic attitude around here that it's just not worth your effort. I mean, the people in power, and people will tell you this if you come here and you start to do something, people will tell you, you're wasting your time because the people in power will do what they want to do, so you might as well just forget it. And that's their attitude is that people who run things will run them the way they want. And there was several years ago an interest in getting a railroad museum. And a lot of citizens got together, they did all the planning, they got the permits, they did the plans, they raised the money, they even got it on the ballot and took it to the vote of the residents of City of Newport who voted it in. And then when it got to the city council said, no, we're not doing it.
Wow.
And they said that despite the vote, they said that doesn't make any difference. It's up to us. It's not up to the people of Newport. We're the ones that call all the shots. And a lot of feelings were hurt. People and at that point, people that were involved with that, they'll just say, that was it. I worked really hard on that, and it doesn't make any difference what I do. I'm just not doing anything else, because those folks are pretty old now.
Do you understand why the railway museum would actually be good for commerce? Do you understand why they did that? Just because it was someone else's idea?
Well, I think it had to do again with the orderliness issue.
Okay.
very concerned about, I don't know what, the issues involved parking and someone potentially suing for someone tripping on a railroad tie, or, you know, there was a whole, they would continually bring up these issues of bad things that might happen if you did anything different. Something bad might happen, so we're not gonna do it because, you know, something bad might happen.
Yeah, I think if it's not on their map, that
Yeah.
it's extra thing. You know, they are probably overburdened with being stuck in a defunct system as it is, just like we all are. We have a crippled system, so they're kind of gasping for air themselves.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep the people floating that's already floating.
Yeah.
It's hard enough keeping them floating.
Yeah.
Like this new business that's coming in, that taste testing thing.
Tasting
They
center.
get tax exemptions for the next
Oh,
5
yes.
years.
Oh,
I mean, that's 5
You
to
know,
10
the
years.
first year they only
Started
pay
on that.
10% of their property tax.
Okay.
Next year they pay 20%, and next year they pay 30%. So they're giving them lots of money.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think the people, they like their town, they've been here, they love the town, so they have a heartfelt feeling, but when it comes to practical sense and
But they're letting
being
But these people,
constitutional.
the people that's like doing the tasting center, you know, they're people from New York.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's some, like Cinta's is a local bakery, and you know, Steve from the health food store has certainly worked his tail off to continue that business, which is a long-standing business here. But still, you know, to give them that huge tax exemption for all those years with no guarantee that they're even going to be in business 5 years from now. And they already had 2 businesses they gave tax exemptions to that went out of business. And a lot of these places, they come in, they get the tax exemption for the X number of years, and as soon as exemption runs out,
They sell the business.
pick up and they move to another town who gives them another tax exemption. It's a con. It's a real
Yeah,
scam.
tax exemptions.
And it just keeps happening over and over again. And I don't know why municipalities keep falling for it.
Well, there is some, I'm not a tax lawyer or I don't understand tax law, but there is some exemption you get for the first, I believe, 4 years of a business. And in Virginia,
Not all
and
of them,
in the,
only these certain ones.
yeah, in DC, you'll see, like, say, a lot of a Thai restaurant will come in. It'll be there for 4 years, and then the person sells it to someone else, a friend, and they move on and do another one. So they always stay in the exemption period.
Right.
It's like 4 years the restaurant's gone, and it's really very rare that they stay more than the 4 years that they have these exemptions.
And another restaurant of the same kind.
You know how we had this whole thing about business people were saying, well, you know, we built all this by ourselves. And here is this woman sitting there in front of city council saying, if I didn't have this tax exemption, my business would not, I couldn't make my business work. So
Right.
basically, she's
So-
totally dependent on,
Business welfare,
right, it's welfare for her.
welfare for business.
Yeah, welfare for her to get her business going, which is a for-profit business, and most of which is mail order. They sell, it's a expensive ice cider that they sell all across the country. And, you know, so the city of Newport is subsidizing this lady. Well, she makes some jobs, but, you know, we have all these business people saying, well, you know, well, we do all these things, we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we do all these things on our own, but by her own admission, she couldn't have done it without help from us.
If these people,
citizens of Newport.
if these people love the town of Newport so much, why are they tearing up a full city block of it?
Well, that's another bunch of people, they're different ones.
Yeah, it's really favoritism. Like even Lowell recently, they passed over a ballot, a people's petition to review the wind towers, because they said their story was never heard properly.
Yeah.
And all the people that wanted the wind towers, they had all their input. Everybody got their chance to talk about it, but they didn't get their chance. And the town just passed over the ballot, passed over the vote. Oh, we're not going to vote on it. Well, they sued him and brought him to court. And that same judge again, Van B, he said, you can't just pass over this petition. It's a legal petition. You are required to answer it and to have a gathering and discuss the issue. But otherwise, they just tried to just throw it out. Well, the towers are already up and it's already done and it's set in stone, so that's it.
But the thing about challenging stuff like we did, was that it cost us a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and for poor people around here, you know, most of them, whatever, even if it's not true, even if they're accused of something they didn't do, it's just, it's way cheaper and less of a hassle for them just to pay their money and get out as quick as possible. Challenging anything is so extremely expensive.
They got us all under control, the monetary system. It's the key to how they run the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, yeah, you know, sometimes you sort of see people lined up at the police station paying their money, you know, it's like mostly they just collect
like a
money
monthly
there.
bill.
Yeah, it's like a monthly bill, you know, and to challenge it,
What?
you know, people would have to have somebody behind them with some money to do it.
Yeah, I mean, me and Laura will like to spend as much as $175 to find a $7.50 parking
Well, I
ticket
say
because we don't think it was right.
Absolutely, more power to you, because that's what, people have to do that before people.
I just gotta get Barry willing to accept the money because I want him to be able to afford to fight poor people's cases. You know, he wants to be the good guy, but
I lived in Newport for over 30 years, and I had children here. And at one point, my young teenage daughter got in some trouble with the law, graffitiing, and then there was a case where somebody broke into a
That's the
store or
family.
something. But she told me, she says, no, Dad, it wasn't me. We left. They were, you know, a roving group of rowdies, I admit. But I decided, I said, well, if you're innocent, you're innocent, so then we'll go to trial. The court and her lawyer was so mad, so upset, so angry. You can't go to trial for this.
oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go to trial. And in the little room there that they have, I'm sitting with my daughter and I say, well, we're just trying to get to the truth of the matter. And the lawyer looked me in the eye and says, the truth has nothing to do with it. And then I said, whoa, that right there, that chill went through my heart. I caught my breath. And then later on, I could hear her yelling at my daughter behind the doors. I should have gone in. I guess I didn't feel enough courage or confidence. You can't go. Well, the judge is going to put you away for 15 years. You're going to go to jail. You're going to do this.
Was a public defender?
No.
No.
Oh, she was a public defender. But
Public pretender.
public pretender. And she wound up getting the Lawyer of the Year award
Yes.
the following month. So it's that kind of thing. And the case was a joke.
I mean, a lot of in New Hampshire, there's a group of people who are doing a campaign. Do not take the plea.
Right.
Whatever bullshit charges that get thrown at you, you
Right.
take it to court, whatever it is,
Right.
and you just make them fight for it. And if enough people insist on their rights,
Yes.
most people never take things to trial. They always take the plea.
Basically.
And it's if people were willing to fight for their rights and they were able to, because there were people who would back them. And
Well, they'd be backed up.
me personally, I am willing to put some money out to back people because
Right.
you know, that I can't see a better use of excess money than to help someone out.
Well, but people, I think they need, I think they do need examples, and they need, they need encouragement, and then they also need advice on how to do it, and really a lot of support.
Well, I think this town is changing. There's been those two cases where people
Absolutely.
said no to the city.
Well, the two things against Santo were the same lawyer, and I was told that by a reporter, and she didn't say who the lawyer was. I wish I knew. What do you suppose it was? Do you think it was
I think it
Jean?
begins with an H.
Oh, because there was one lawyer that was taking that on.
Right.
So really, we need more people like that.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out a name there.
Yeah, it was. But anyway, yeah. I think you made the observation about the southern town, only north.
That was a friend of ours who has great experience in government. She's been involved in as a judging sanity and in insanity cases. She does psychiatry in a jail. And when I told her about Newport, she said, "Oh, it's a southern town. It's just a little south of the Canadian border."
I don't know if I can.
Oh, gee.
I don't know. Can I say this on a camera? I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but but it's just a southern town, and all the black people have white skin, but they're here.
Yeah.
And there's the same prejudice that's economic, and I think this is the way we're heading in this country. I think that the prejudice is becoming an economic prejudice.
Yeah.
You got those hardcore people I
It doesn't
heard,
make any difference the colors.
they said the other day that, when we're talking about stop and frisk,
Yeah.
they say, well, we're just trying to save these people's lives. You realize most of the crimes happen between 75% of black people, and we're only stopping frisking 50%. We should actually be stopping 75% to protect them from themselves.
Well,
So this is some of the thinking that goes down.
Laura and I do need to go. We have a lot of stuff to do, and this will be, if this comes out, this will be on YouTube tonight.
Oh, great.
So
Can we get it on NEK
To
too?
be able to
I can give you a copy of it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thanks.
This is 35 minutes of NEK 99.
rambling.